Hello, and welcome back to Unexpected Results on the Slyphor channel with our second pack of Dragons of Tarkir. I've picked a pack with Narset on the front in the hopes that I will draw a Narset, but that's probably not going to happen. So we're going to just get straight into the pack and see what we get. There we go. There we go. Straight in. Our first card is a Volcanic Rush. 4 and a red, instant. Attacking creatures get +2/+0 and gain trample until end of turn. This card is not so good. It's basically a trumpet blast that gives trample, I suppose, but it's like 2 more just to give them trample. Which I suppose as a finisher could be okay, but I don't see why you wouldn't just use Trumpet Blast, especially in Teamer, which is what I think this is meant to be used in, where most of your stuff should have trample already. But yeah, not too happy about that. Then we have a Dromoka Warrior. 1 and a white human warrior for a 3/1. And it's Dromoka watermarked, which is nice. Quite like the artwork on it, but nothing particularly special about it. I suppose it's 3 attack on turn 2, which is okay. And then we have another Coat with Venom. So I've spoken about this one before, so I'll just skip straight over it. Contradiction. A very straightforward counterspell with a draw in it, which is nice. So it's 3 blue, instant, counter target spell, draw a card. 3 blue is quite high as a drop, but because it just counters anything, and then you also get a draw, it could well be worth it. In limited formats, I don't see it working very well, but in things like EDH, Commander, I can see it being very useful. We then have an Inoc Artillerist, 2 and a green for a 4/1. Artillerist has reach as long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it. So this is one of the basic Dromoka abilities with all of the completely blanking on the word, bolster. With all the bolster mechanics, because this only has 1 defense, you can just straight away put a 1 counter on it and then it's got 5 attack and reach. So it's pretty good for blocking all those dragons that will be flying around. Then we have an Tarkir Efreet. For 3 and a red, it's a 5/1 with Megamorph. The Megamorph cost to flip it up is 2 and a red, and whenever you flip it up, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And it's an Efreet Shaman. It's got a high power, so you could always flip it up and trade with something, along with dealing the 1 damage to something else. So it's okay. There's probably better cards than it, but it's a kind of combat trick based creature in this, really. Yeah, because it will be a 2/2 and people will be like, oh yeah, I can totally swing through that. And then you flip it up, ping something for 1, and then you could deal 6 damage to something, or you could deal 5 damage to something and 1 damage to something else. So it's pretty good. We then have Flatten. 3 and a black, instant. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. This card's pretty good. I've had issues with this in draft formats and things like that. It's a good limited card. We then have an elusive Spellfist, another Ojutai creature with pseudo prowess, but not particularly. 1 and a blue, human monk for a 1/3. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Elusive Spellfist gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked. It's pretty good. I like the fact that it can just gain unblockable pretty much every turn. Yeah, it's pretty good. The next is Herald of Dromoka. Now this is a good card. I have seen this card used to great effect in many Dromoka decks, or possibly in old Mardu decks, because of the warrior archetype. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2, so it's a bear. It's a human warrior, which triggers warrior stuff. It has vigilance, and it gives other warrior creatures you control vigilance, which is really good. Just giving your entire field vigilance, just because you're all playing warriors, is amazing, and it's a great card. We then have the Airy Bowmasters. For 2 green, it's a 3/4 with reach, and it has Megamorph for 5 and a green. It's an okay card. You could Megamorph it to give it make it a 4/5 with reach, which again you could combat trick in to block a dragon. So it could be useful, but the Megamorph cost is pretty high, so you'd have to be almost entirely open in order to trick this in, and it would be difficult to work out. We then have Echoes of the Kin Tree. For 1 and a white, it's an enchantment that can bolster 1 for 2 and a white, and you can do this as many times as you want, whenever you want, because it's just a mana ability and it can cast at instant speed. So it's pretty good. A 2-drop enchantment where you can just throw in combat tricks for extra mana. As long as you have leftover mana, it's a good card. And that's our first uncommon as well. Our next uncommon is the Youthful Scholar. For 3 and a blue, it's a 2/2, so it's quite high, but I've seen this guy exploited quite a lot into other cards because he's a Silumgar card. And his rules read, when he dies you draw 2 cards. So you can exploit this guy, draw 2 cards off him, and then trigger the exploit effect. So that's really good. We then have a Foul Tongue Invocation. For 2 and a black, it's an instant, and as an additional cost to Foul Tongue Invocation, you may reveal a dragon card from your hand. You don't have to do this, but you can. Target player sacrifices a creature. If you revealed a dragon, or control a dragon as you cast it, you gain 4 life. So it's a kill spell, but a non-targeted kill spell, because they get to pick. And potentially gaining 4 life, depending on if you have a dragon in hand or on field. So that's nice. And our rare is Damnable Pact. X black sorcery. Target player draws X cards and loses X life. So depending on how much mana you have, you can spend a bunch of your life to draw answers. But if you don't have that much life, and you have loads of mana, you can just spend loads of mana, kill someone, and make them draw their entire deck, pretty much. It's a pretty good card. A very endgame card, unless you just want to spend 3, draw a card and lose a life, which makes it almost entirely worthless. Like, I would never cast this for less than 5, because if you're casting it to draw less than 3 cards, and you're paying 3 life as well, it's just not worth it. You could use it for less to take off the last couple of life off an opponent, but other than that, I don't see why you'd use this for less. We then have an island, which has some pretty cool artwork. Pretty nice. I'm not sure how well you can see that. And then we have a warrior token. And yeah, the pick of this pack is pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what it is. It's the Herald of Dromoka. Being a vigilant bear and giving vigilant to all your other warriors makes it great in warrior decks, which there's quite a lot of floating around in Tarkir. So yeah, that's my pick of the pack. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I shall see you all next time.